Hi guys, my name's Lindsay, and today I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about adding fractions together. And the key rule in adding any fraction together is that the denominators, those bottom numbers, need to be exactly the same value in order to add those two together. So the first example I have written here for you, the denominators are the same. So we'll start with one that's relatively straightforward. So because I've got 4 over 15 plus 2 over 15, so if I want to add those two together, the denominators must be the same, but they are. So I am going to just add 4 plus 2, which is 6. And then my denominators, I don't add those. I just leave them the same. So I'm going to put 15 as my denominator. And my final answer is 6 over 15. Now that one was kind of nice because the denominators started off the same, but what if they don't? What if we have a question like we do over here, 1/8 plus 5 over 12, where the denominators aren't the same? We can't add those together at this point, so we've got to do something to make them the same. So this might be something that you're comfortable with, and you can kind of quickly in your head come up with the lowest common denominator for those. But if you can't, I'm going to show you how to do that. So the idea here is, and I'm just going to write here, that we want to find the lowest common denominator. And then I'll explain what that means. So lowest as in the smallest, common is on what they have the same, and denominator is that bottom number. So let me show you what I mean. I'll use this color again. I'm going to take 8 and I'm going to count by 8s. So 8, add another 8 to it, we get 16, add 8 to that, we get 24, add another 8, 32, and I could count for a really long time with 8s if I wanted to. And I'm going to do the same to 12. So I'm going to make my list over here counting by 12s. So I've got 12, add 12 to that, 24, add another 12, 36. And this list, just like this one, could go on forever. But what we are trying to do is we are looking at these lists, and I am trying to come up with the lowest common denominator. So again, common as in a number they have that's the same, and lowest as in looking at that list, what number is the same that's the lowest? Maybe they have more than one number that's the same on that list. We're going to pick the smallest one. So if I look at this list and I look at this one, it looks to me like 24 is the smallest number that those two lists have in common. So what I've decided is my new denominator is going to be 24. So now I need to figure out how I'm going to make that 8 into 24. And the way that I'm going to do that, this list kind of comes in handy again. If I multiply 8 by 1, 2, by 3, it'll turn into 24. But if I do something to the bottom of a fraction, I have to do something to that same thing to the top of that fraction. So I actually have to multiply that by 3 as well. It'll keep that value the same. The denominator will just change, and so will the numerator. Let's do the same over here. To make 12 into 24, I'm going to multiply it by 1, 2. So I'm going to multiply 12 by 2. And again, if I do something to the bottom, I'm going to do the same to the top. So I'm going to multiply that guy by 2. And now, 1 times 3 is 3. 8 times 3 is 24. So now, 1/8 and 3/24, those are the same values. Those mean the same things. They're just written in different forms. I'm going to do the same over here. 5 times 2 is 10. Leave that plus sign intact there. 12 times 2 is 24. And again, 5 over 12 and 10 over 24 mean the same thing. They're just written differently. But now I've got common denominators. I can add those two together. So I'm going to add the top numbers, 3 plus 10, which is 13. And those denominators don't change. They stay the same. So I'm just going to leave that as 24. So 13/24 is my final answer in that question. So I'm just going to make myself a little bit of room here, and then we'll come back and try a few more. Okay guys, I'm back, and I've got a couple more questions for you. And what's nice about these questions is if you are entering into a trade, or the reason you're wanting to get really comfortable with fractions is because you're going to be using a tape measure, the nice thing about dealing with fractions and tape measures is that you aren't going to use any denominator ever. You've only got a few to work with. Your denominators are going to be a 2, a 4, an 1/8, a 16th, a 32nd, maybe a 64th, depending on how specific you're trying to get. So the rules change just a little bit. There's actually a bit of a shorter version of this if you're dealing with the denominators on a tape measure. So for example, I've got a question here, 3/16 plus 1/2. So I've got two denominators here. They aren't the same. I've got to make them the same. I could find the lowest common denominator making my lists like I did before. But if you are dealing with, again, a quarter, a half, a quarter, an 1/8, a 16th, a 32nd only, you're actually always able to look at the smaller of these two denominators. So in this case, the 2 is smaller than the 16. I'm always going to be able to multiply that 2 by something to make it into 16. And maybe you can look at that really quickly and you know what the answer is. You know what you need to multiply 2 by to make it 16. But if you don't, take 16, the larger of the 2, and divide it by the smaller. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. That's going to be the number that I multiply 2 by to make it 16. Make those denominators common. And then if I do something to the bottom of the fraction, you guys know that I also have to do the same to the top. So let's rewrite that as 3/16 plus 8/16. And we know that 1/2 is the same as 8/16. You wouldn't say, hey, I need 8/16 of a piece of product. You'd say 1/2. But in order to do the question, we're going to modify it like that. So now that we've got common denominators, we're going to add those together just like we did before. I'm going to add the top values, 8 plus 3. And my bottom values stay the same. So my answer there is 11/16. So now I've got one more question up here, and I want you to take a minute and try this on your own. But before you do, the difference between the questions we've done in the past and this one is we have mixed numbers. We've got a value that has a whole number as well as a fraction. But I'll tell you that all you need to do when we're adding and subtracting is add those two values together. In this case, we're adding, but those denominators still need to be the same. So take a minute, try to make those denominators the same. Once they are, add your whole numbers, add your fractions, and see what you come up with. So hopefully you took a minute to do that, and what I hope you did was just what we did over here. We looked at the 4 and the 16, and we said, okay, what do I have to multiply the smaller of the two to make it the same as the larger? 4 is smaller, and if I multiply 4 by 4, I'll get 16. Better do the same to the top, though. So let's rewrite it exactly the way I see it, and I've got 4/16 plus 2 and 3/16, and I know that you might be thinking in your head, can I skip this step? Can I just show you the final answer? Of course you can, but something to remember in math, and especially if you're working in a trade, if I'm your customer and you're showing me the price of something, I want to see all of the work. I want to see where you got that answer from. So it's a good thing to get in the habit of really showing all of your work step by step so that whoever you're dealing with, whether it's a boss or a customer, that you can show that to them and not just give them a final answer. So let's add this together. We're going to add our whole numbers, our 5 and our 2, and 5 plus 2 is 7. And now we're going to add our numerators, our top numbers, 4 plus 3, which is 7. And that bottom number stays the same, 16. So my final answer is 7 and 7/16. So hopefully that clarifies to you the basic rules of adding together fractions and mixed numbers.